Geno Smith. So let's dive into the NFL QB carousel. We have Sam Darnold, obviously going from Minnesota to Seattle. You got Geno Smith going from Seattle to Vegas. Daniel Jones leaves Minnesota to go to Indianapolis. You got Justin Fields, who obviously is going from the Steelers to the Jets as a bridge-like quarterback. What were your thoughts on these moves?
The most interesting one, because of some of the other moves that were made, is Sam Darnold to Seattle. Because Tyler Lockett's not there. They traded DK Metcalf to the Steelers. So who is Sam Darnold going to throw the ball to?
Kenneth Walker, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and they will draft another receiver.
Right.
We don't know if he's going to be good or not, but we know in the NFL draft there's 10 or 12 receivers a year, most of them hit. So I'm not even mostly concerned about that. I think this is what people are overlooking. So, Josh, we've debated a lot about Geno Smith and the Seahawks, because the Seahawks are your favorite NFC team, and it ain't even close. Here's the thing that I'm struggling with Seattle.
Okay.
I think Sam Darnold is a younger Geno Smith, and I don't think he's an upgrade. And I think Sam Darnold last year had a career year with an offensive head coach and those weapons in Minnesota. Now he's going to go to a defensive head coach with not as great weapons in a harder division, especially on the defensive side with San Francisco's defense. Robert Saleh back there as the defensive coordinator. Jonathan Gannon in Arizona. We know what the Rams' young defense is building there in LA. And the offensive line is terrible. And this guy doesn't play well in cold weather, and he's going to be in rainy Seattle. I think we could very well see Sam Darnold turn back into the Sam Darnold that was with the Panthers. I don't get this.
Well, I don't fully agree with you about the 49ers, because who knows what they're going to look like this season. Good Lord. Everybody's leaving. But I do understand what you're saying about Arizona and the Rams.
They also have 12 draft picks, San Francisco. So they're going to spend a lot of that on the defense side of the ball. They're going to get younger. And what I'm saying is I think Robert Saleh being back there as the defensive coordinator will help that defense.
Sure. I do think Darnold is a slight upgrade over Geno Smith. Not by much, though.
But to pay him $35 million a year, I don't get that. For me, Justin Fields, the Jets, is such a better deal than Sam Darnold. I'm only paying Justin Fields $20 million a year for 2 years, and he's mobile.
Yeah. That's interesting to me, because does that mean the Jets aren't going to draft a quarterback?
So I'll throw this one out there. I threw this one out there a couple weeks ago. A lot of people aren't talking about it. They do have Tyrod Taylor on their roster as a backup, who I think will be obviously a nice mentor to Fields. If I'm the Jets, maybe they don't take him in the first round. If he's there in the second, why not take a flyer on Jalen Milroe, right? A little bit of a project, but he's mobile. Jackson Dart from the Ole Miss kind of fits that protege where he sounds like he could be going second, third round. Why not take a shot on one of these mobile guys? You have Tyrod there to be the veteran. You have Fields there to be a bridge for a year. And you have Aaron Glenn, who is a very good defensive coordinator. We know he's going to fix the defense. So I think without Aaron Rodgers there, you got a mobile guy that can move. If you sort of build up your offensive line, this team has the infrastructure where you could bring in a Jalen Milroe or a Jackson Dart and let them sit. I don't think the Jets are as big of a disaster as the sports media world is making them out to be.
Oh, God.
I could see a path, because I didn't love Justin Fields last year, but do you remember it was week 7 last year? Russell Wilson came in on a Sunday night against the Jets. They won that game. And the whole conversation around the game was, they really pulled Justin Fields? That's unfair to Justin Fields. He was playing so well. He went 4-2. I had Justin Fields, for the record, in Chicago. He got Matt Nagy for a year, but then he was out the door. So we got Matt Eberflus. He goes to Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin, who doesn't know how to build an offense. And now he's going to the Jets with Aaron Glenn, who's another defensive coach.
Yeah, I don't get it. Honestly, the only move that's not head scratching is Geno Smith to the Raiders. That's the only one of these moves that's not head scratching to me.
Okay, so Josh, because I wanted to bring this up. So let me go back to the Browns for a second, because I just mentioned to you how I thought they were going to take Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
If they don't love Shedeur, I think there is a world, even though they have paid Myles Garrett, where you call the Raiders, because I don't think the Giants are moving up. They need a quarterback, and I don't even know if they like one of the guys in the draft. I think they're going to try to sign whatever bargain basement free agent quarterback they can. New England's not taking a quarterback. Jacksonville's not taking a quarterback. If I'm the Raiders, even though I have Geno, I think I make the call to the Browns for the number 2 pick and try to get Shedeur. And I think the Browns could move back at 6. You could get a left tackle. You could get some edges in the draft. Then you're not drafting a quarterback, but you're also not drafting Shedeur either.
Yeah. And then what you do? Like take Jalen Milroe in the second round?
No, you just don't take a quarterback. You sign Kirk. You have or Russell Wilson. You have Kenny Pickett as your backup, and you are just building the trenches. You're getting offensive linemen. You're getting defensive linemen. You're getting another corner. You're getting another receiver. You're building the team up so that next year, when hopefully you're bad enough or you're maybe good enough and you have more resources because you traded away the number 2 pick to then trade back up to select a quarterback in a much better quarterback class. Like that would be the conversation I would have, would be because to me, Geno Smith is a bridge. So if I'm the Raiders, I like having Geno there for 1 year and having Shedeur sit behind him. Like Geno Smith, we know what he is. We know what Pete Carroll is. We know what Chip Kelly is. We know what the Raiders have. I don't care about their head coach and their offensive coordinator. They have the 4th best quarterback in their division still.
Oh, I agree with you.
Period. So in order to get better at that position, Geno Smith is not the long-term answer. They need to go get Shedeur Sanders.
Honestly, I don't know if the Browns would do it. I don't.
Let me ask you this. If you're the GM, do you mind that as a fan? Like, would you mind if that happens?
I mean, the Browns are just a dumpster fire, so it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, at this point. But I don't even know how to respond to that question. Really and truly, I don't know how to respond.
You know, I'll tell you one that I think is interesting here. It's sort of our last one on the board is Daniel Jones. And I find it fascinating that they gave him $14 million for a year. I still like Anthony Richardson. I think he's got a lot of talent in him, though I struggle with the fact that he literally could throw a 45-yard bomb perfectly and then couldn't hit a layup. Just don't understand that. I mean, excuse me, if you're going to pay Daniel Jones $14 million, I think you're paying him to start. And so it's like, does a team like a Vegas or even a Cleveland or, you know, the Jets even though they brought in Fields, like, do you try to take a flyer on a guy like Anthony Richardson? Are the Colts saying we're moving on from him?
I don't know if the Colts are outright saying that. I do think what they are saying, though, is this is your last chance to prove to us that you can be the long-term quarterback.
Well, here's the problem. Let's say Anthony Richardson does win the job as your backup quarterback and it really costs $14 million. So I view it as like, I think Daniel Jones is going to start, and I wouldn't bench Anthony Richardson again. He needs to play.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying I think the Colts are doing this to say, like, this is your last chance.
So basically, you think this may be, you know, a lot of times in the NFL, we hear QB competitions and one guy really has the leg up. This may be the most 50-50 even quarterback competition we have in the league this year.
Yes, I 100%. You look at the teams that are like going after the services of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. It's primarily the Giants and the Steelers. Browns to a lesser extent, but it's primarily the Giants and the Steelers that you're hearing about that, right? Think about
Indy as well, and Seattle, like all these teams that are middle of the pack, that probably aren't going to get a quarterback. What it tells me is we think this quarterback class stinks, and we'd rather go with a bridge for a year.
Okay, but the two primary teams I've heard connected to Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That is true, yes.
So, and where I'm going with this is the Giants and the Steelers have been two of the pinnacle franchises in the NFL, right? For the most part. And now you look at both of them, and neither team can really figure it out. Like, for example, the Giants have been.
Both of them had a Hall of Fame quarterback. You can make the argument for Eli Manning. I don't know if he's going to be in the Hall of Fame or not. Ben Roethlisberger, I think without a doubt, will be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Both of those guys were taken in the same draft in 2004. We know the story. And both of them ever since, Pittsburgh tried it with Daniel Jones, Kenny Pickett. The Giants tried it with Daniel Jones. And both of those guys did not work out for their respective franchises. And now they are doing what the Colts basically did for years with Carson Wentz and Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett, and what Seattle is now doing, in my opinion, with Geno Smith and Sam Darnold. And it's putting the Band-Aid on it. And I'm telling you right now, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers does not solve Pittsburgh's issue. DK Metcalf, which we'll get into here in a second, DK Metcalf does not solve the Steelers' issue. The Steelers' issue is an offensive line issue. And so I think they're just trying to Band-Aid it. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, you may think I'm crazy. I think the better situation for him between the Steelers and the Giants is the Giants.
Oh, no way.
Hold on. Let me explain. Do they have an offensive coach? Yes. Brian Dable, who we know is smart. We know he got Daniel Jones. We got the best out of Daniel Jones. We know the work he got with Josh Allen in Buffalo. We know he coached with Tom Brady in New England with Belichick. Dable has a history with quarterbacks. We also know their offensive line is actually really good. They have two cornerstones at left and right tackle. They have a really good center. Could their guards need some upgrading? Sure. Their defensive line is actually the strength of their team. It's actually one of the best defensive lines in the league. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and they have a really good young wide receiver who I think you can make an argument is top 6, top 7 receiver already in the league in Malik Neighbors, and a running back who, even though they gave up on Saquon Barkley, that Tracy kid that played last year for them has some potential. Where Pittsburgh right now, they just let go of Najee Harris. They have DK Metcalf and George Pickens, but it sounds like they're going to move on from George Pickens. And both those guys are needy wide receivers in an offense with Arthur Smith, who is not a great offensive coordinator. They're going to want to run the football. They don't have a great offensive line, and their defense got shredded at the end of last year.
All of that is true, and yet I still say Pittsburgh's the better situation because, honestly, right now, if you want to go to a quarterback graveyard, go to the Giants. That place, that organization is horrible right now.
They are, but, I think Aaron Rodgers makes them a 6-7 win team. I'm not saying great, but what is Pittsburgh going to be with Aaron? 7 or 8 win team? Probably 9 because they'll get to over 500 because that's what we do.
Yeah. Which at this point, Steelers fans, I'm surprised the Steelers haven't at least considered moving on from Mike Tomlin.
So by the way, which conference is more likely for me to not win the division? Because both divisions are hard. NFC East has Philly, Washington, and who the hell knows what Dallas is doing. AFC North, you got to play Lamar, Burrow twice a year. We know who the hell what the Browns are doing. But which conference gives me a better chance to at least make the playoffs? I would argue it's the NFC. And bonus, I get to stay in my house I already live in New York. Like, everybody's laughing at me because you hear the Giants and you think, oh my God, they're terrible. And I get it. But
because they are.
And they are. But I hate to say this because they are my NFC East rival. The infrastructure is there. The Steelers' infrastructure is not there. If I'm a quarterback, offensive line is my number one issue. The Giants definitely have a better offensive line than Pittsburgh. That should be Aaron Rodgers' number one. Do they have an offensive coach and do they have an offensive line?
Oh, boy.
No, Minnesota's the spot, but I don't think they're going for him. I would go with J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, because if you go after Aaron Rodgers, what does that say about J.J. McCarthy? Like,
probably that he's not healthy yet. I wouldn't read too much into it, but also the fact that I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to do the Brett Favre of going from Green Bay to the Jets to the Vikings.
And then all he would have to do from there is do some fraud with the college or university, and then you really could believe the Brett Favre trajectory. There you go.